Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty, and we've got quite a lot of things to review this week. I could give you a big, long rundown, but honestly, that'd take a lot of time out of our 5 minutes. But suffice to say, a lot of small indie press stuff's going. But first time in a while, there's been an issue 1 launched from Marvel, where I've actually been genuinely excited about it. I think the last time one hit me like this was Strange Academy, and that was a mixture of like decent writer and artist. Characters I'm not too fussed about, but it turns out to be just an excellent start of something. So I figured, let's do another writer and artist combo that I'm really excited about. It's 140,000 comic book, official 140,000 comic book by Marvel, no longer with Titan. And you've got Kieran Gillen on the artwork and Jason Burrows on the art. Two absolutely amazing creators. Really, really easy to tell you that Kieran Gillen is probably one of my favorite writers out there at the moment. Once in the Future and Die are two of my favorite things I'm reading. In fact, if it wasn't for Simon Spurrier's Hellblazer, they would be like at the top of my list of best things I'd recommend to anyone. So, Jason Burrows' artwork in there has an awful lot of detail, which is kind of an essential thing, I think, for a Warhammer 40,000 one, because you've got armor and weaponry and vehicles and all the kind of stuff which people are used to seeing in fine detail because they are models that they buy and paint themselves. They want to see that detail recreated, or at least I certainly did. For something like that, you want somebody like Jason Burrows. This man is a master of the detail. He also is known for doing quite brutal, horrific violence. If you've not read it, I would recommend his last work with Garth Ennis, Punisher Soviet, because lordy, that's full of some gore. And that's kind of what I wanted from this as well. Suffice to say, it has hit every single thing that I wanted out of it. Probably the only thing I didn't really have much in the way of an expectation or a plan for was the story itself. Because as much as I've played an awful lot of 40k, I mainly did because I like the models, I like painting. I'm not very good at the wargaming. I used to get my butt kicked a lot by my friends when I was in high school. And even after that, like when I'd left college and was a fully grown man, I was still bad at these kind of games. But I still kept doing it because I love painting the models. But because my main interest was with the model kind of thing, the wargaming was something I did because otherwise it felt like quite a lot of money I was spending on it for no good reason. I didn't really follow a lot of the story of the world and the characters either. I've read a few pieces of fiction. I'm currently quite enjoying Dan Abnett's Gaunt's Ghost stuff, up to book 3. I quite like the Ka-Pow books. I even started reading some of the Horus Heresy, but they are not very exciting. Or should I say not very interesting. Excitement, yes. And that's one thing this world does really, really well. It does brutal, unforgiving action, and that kind of thing just is like non-stop throughout almost all the books you're going to read. But what makes them interesting for me is more the characters and how they interact with the world and the various people within it. And I've always found that for the most part, not exclusively, but for the most part, Space Marines not the most exciting of folk. They are like giant, like literally giant, like 9-foot tall super soldiers who live their entire lives dedicated to stamping out the enemy's Imperium in a never-ending war. Not the kind of guys you want to sit down and have a beer with, effectively. They're not going to be chatty, or at least not unless they're talking about the tenets of the Emperor and all that kind of stuff. So making something that's interesting based on one of the more famous Space Marines, the Ultramarine Marneus Calgar, that was going to be the challenge for me. I didn't expect it to be a hard challenge. Like I said, Kieran Gillen is an excellent writer. He's done just great things with other stuff I've been reading. And there's probably a whole bunch of other stuff I should read as well. Probably Uber at some point. But he manages it. He really does, because he doesn't just do Marneus the fully grown Space Marine. He talks about him and his friends as children. He deals with other people who aren't Space Marines, which is good because nothing about Space Marines is probably quite dull. So then it comes down to the world and the story. The story is just developing. This is issue 1 of 5, and as a result of that, they can spend quite a bit of time, not necessarily doing full world building, because you're never going to get all that done in one comic based on the entire universe of 140,000. But you get enough of a sense of where they are, a sense of place, and a sense of history for it. The dialogue is okay. No, I'm going to rephrase that. It's better than I expected, considering we're dealing with Space Marines. But it still comes across as Space Marines. Now, this is one of those things where I'm going to go against what I usually say, which is like, if a comic book just does what I expect it to do, I feel a little bit disappointed, because I always want to be surprised and I want something amazing. I want something to jump out at me. But when I'm talking about one of my favorite writers and an artist who I genuinely admire and his stuff I will pick up simply because his name's on it, getting what I expected is still a pretty high bar. It's kind of hard to imagine there's many other people who I can read it and just go, oh, well, that's okay. But then we'll almost certainly turn upon an end of the year list. Best of the year, should I say. And I think this one's going to do it. because for all I've said, it's, space marines talking to each other and all that kind of thing. There's ways to still put like your stamp on the world, and one of them is using like the almost data slate-esque thing that Hickman does, because there's maps. Who doesn't like a good map? But there's also a little bit of text that are dropped in there. I'm not going to leave that too long. You should come and buy it. But whenever you see something like that, make sure to read it. You take the time, read all of it. Just like thoughts for the day in there, and they just add so much extra to the world in small, little, subtle ways. And I would highly recommend picking up just because of that. Yes, the story's great. Yes, the artwork's fantastic. But it's just the extra little bits that people like Kieran and Jason can put into it, which not everyone else can. All right, that's it for me. I'm probably not going to do another one today, but for the rest of the week and maybe even through the weekend, I expect at least one, if not two reviews a day, because I've got a lot to get through. But that's it for me today. Bye.